Hello, I want to show you how to use Varnish Docker image container in a sort of microservice architecture. First of all, if you have never heard of Varnish, it's a caching solution. And as you know, all caching solutions, they sit between a client and a server or a web server. And the dynamic is that there is a request made. If the request is cached, it's going to be delivered by the cache. And if not, it's going to do a request to the origin, to the server, and it's going to come back. It's going to be cached. And from that point on, it's going to be delivered by the caching. Why do we do this? Because generally, having caching a request is faster, right? It's quicker. They are designed and built for fast in delivering to any request. So let's say you have a private subnet, and in this private subnet you have two services, two servers, two containers, whatever, and they are in constant communication. So you might consider adding them. Adding a Varnish cache or any sort type of cache between them, so you reduce the latency and speed of that communication. And why am I showing you Varnish instead of other caching solutions? For example, CloudFront. Well, CloudFront is designed to cache requests that are public on the internet. These are public-facing, internet-facing solutions. You cannot really configure CloudFront or use it in a private subnet or network. It's impossible. It's not meant to be. But we can definitely use something like Varnish. Okay. So I have this example in WordPress. I'm running SQL database. I'm running the latest WordPress image to containers. They are connecting each other. And I'm actually already running WordPress. This is WordPress. We can visit the site. It's the default image, barely any additions. It has already two posts. And as you know, WordPress has an API. And if we made a request to that API, we get data in a JSON format. For example, I'm right now requesting the posts in WordPress, and you can see I received new post 2, which is created here, and hello world should be also in this list of this JSON response. So I also have a Varnish image. If you can read here, Varnish image, Varnish 7.5.0. And Varnish is that caching layer, okay? So Varnish is already connected to this WordPress. And Varnish is running in my local host on port 8080. So I'm gonna make this same request I made to WordPress in Varnish. Have a look at this time attribute here. Right now it's in 75, which was the time WordPress took to respond. Now it took 79, pretty similar to WordPress. So what's the point of it? Well, the point of it is on the second request and on. The second request is gonna be much faster. We took almost 60 milliseconds from this request. Okay, this is a caching request, a caching response we are seeing here in Postman, and this is thanks to the Varnish container that is running. Now, what's the problem of all caching? Well, kind of a problem, or kind of how they work, is because since we are not requesting directly to the web server, we are requesting to the caching layer. If I made a modification, let's say now quick post is quick post 3. Let's update this. It's already updated. But my caching solution it doesn't have it updated. Okay, but if I request directly to WordPress, I'm gonna see it's already updated. So what do we do? Well, if you are using the Varnish image as is, as it comes out of the box, you have no other choice than waiting 2 minutes, because 2 minutes is the time to leave that is set by Varnish, and they have set it in 2 minutes. That means that after 2 minutes, I'm gonna see this data updated. That may work, or that may not work for you. If it doesn't work, here is where I want to show you what my image does. First, if we take a look, this is the default VCL that Varnish has built. This code is not mine. I want to be clear on that. This code is by the Varnish people themselves. So here is the code that they have set up. Now, there are some modifications I've made for you to have more choices in order to purge data from your Varnish. I have created these verifications so you can make purge requests and ban requests. In a purge request, you have another 2 options. You can either purge by the path. That means that you can purge by giving this path, but you can also purge by a header, and we'll get into that shortly. And this is the code I have added. You can, if you want to know everything I have added, just filter for new stuff, and the new stuff is the code that I have added that is not there by default by Varnish. Some synthetic functions. This is where we purge by the path URL, and also I have changed the default TTL from 2 minutes to 5 minutes. The reason for this is that since now we have more purging mechanism for the cache data, I think it gives more value to have a higher TTL, time to live, not as short as 2 minutes as it comes with the default image. Okay, so you notice that Varnish has these three files inside the Docker container. So how this would work is that we would attach them on the volume so it gets replaced, and let's test these files. Okay, so I'm gonna stop I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna go Docker Compose up again. So in this new instance, now these volumes are attached, these files specifically. So let's go back again. Okay, I have this request. It is made to Varnish. It's not made to WordPress. I do it, and the first time, you see, it took a lot of time. If I go to the headers, you'll see this header Xcache, and it says miscache. But if I go again, it has hit cache, and it was way more faster than the first request. Okay. And I also want to explain you something. Let's say you have a GraphQL service, and I want to show you that you could also use with GraphQL's get HTTP requests. I do GraphQL. It took 120. It's also made to the Varnish container. If I go to the headers, you'll see Xcache miscached. Why? Because it was the first cache, of course. But if we move on, that's gonna be hit. It's gonna be much faster, and the data is the same. Okay, it's gonna be much faster. We even get lower than 9 ms. Another GraphQL query, it's a get, and this is a query string for different data. These are pages. These were posts. Now I'm doing for pages. We're getting these pages. Let's confirm those are the pages we have in WordPress. Sample page 2. This is a draft, so I think it won't be showing. Yeah, it's not showing. And in the headers, you can say Xcache, hit cache. Okay, and we got other data. Now, how can you purge with this new image? Okay, as I told you, you can purge first by just giving a path. And please notice that the method here is purge. So if I make a purge to this GraphQL, boom, it says purged, and it's also you get some feedback that says purge completed. Now I want you to notice that even though these two GraphQL queries are different and they are giving different data, this is for pages, remember, and this is for posts, they are both being purged. If I go to headers, miscached. If I send this, I go to headers, miscached. Why? The reason is because I purged by the path, and the path is only GraphQL. The path here is only GraphQL. The query string is not a factor in this case. So they are both GraphQL and they were both purged. But this path, which is directly the WordPress API without any GraphQL plugin, was also miscached, probably because of the time. But now it says hit cached. I go and purge completed. I go again. See, it's already hit cached. So these requests were purged 2 times. The first one because the time to leave already, the 5 minutes already passed, so it got expired. And this second time, was not cached by this purge request. But if I do a purge request to this path, wp-json v2 posts, which is exactly the same. Let's see how it behaves. You can see it says purged. You got some feedback, and this time is a miscache. Miss means that it was not in the cache and it had to go to the origin server, and that's why it takes more time. But now these two were a hit cache. These are not getting purged with these purge requests by path. Okay, I want you to understand it. And now you have this option, which are called a ban request. If we go to the code and we look for new stuff here, what does ban do? Basically it does a ban function of everything. This means everything. It gives you an xban true. It sets a header for feedback, and also do a synth function with HTTP code 200 ban everything. Let's try it out. First, let's confirm that we have caching content. Okay, hit cache. I'm looking at this header. Hit cache. Okay. Miscache one more time. Hit cache. So we have cache content. Let's make a ban request. Ban everything. You see, it doesn't really take much time to ban, to respond to a ban request. And this time, everything was purged. See, miscached. And what we expect, miscache. Okay. So with a ban request, you can purge everything that is in Varnish. Now, I want to show you a special one, which is purging by a header. And this is very useful in a case where you have GraphQL, like I'm about to show you. This request of GraphQL, you see they have an Xkey header. This Xkey header doesn't come by default. You as the developer, you have to assign a value to the Xkey header. they both have Xkey header. In this case, this request should not have Xkey header. Let's look for it. It has the header, but it's empty. That's fine. In this Xkey header, you see it's not really one value. If you pay attention, you see that there's spaces between values. So this Xkey header have this alphanumeric code. It has this GraphQL query. It has list, 2-point post, and more alphanumeric IDs. Okay, and this this request, which is for the pages, also have an Xkey. Where does this value comes? Well, it's basically a copy paste from this header, xGraphQL keys, which you will notice is exactly the same value. Why? Well, the answer is here. In this subroutine, back in response, I am setting explicitly Xkey is equal to these xGraphQL keys. This comes from the origin backend. This header is set by the origin backend, and with my code, I am passing it to Xkey. Why am I doing this? Because everything that is assigned to this header, there's import Xkey. No, this is gonna replace. Here, by using this special plugin in Varnish, I have access to this function. This function called purge. And with this function, I can send a value. I can purge by a value, and Xkey is gonna delete all cached objects that have this value in the header Xkey. I hope that made sense, and to explain it, let's confirm we have caching data, hit cached, once again, hit cache. So in this Xkey, I have something called list post. Okay, now I'm gonna confirm that list post is not in this second answer. Let's say no, we don't have it. Instead, we have list page. Okay, so in this purge request with this Xkey purge key, I'm gonna purge everything, every object that in its header of Xkey has list post. I send it. Look, it says one object purged, and that one object it was not this one. Okay, it was not this one, so I'm still getting a hit, but it was indeed this request. So if I send it, I have a miss, meaning that this request, this object got purged by this. Let's make it the other way around. I'm gonna purge everything that has list pages with this header, in the header of Xkey. Okay, so I'm gonna purge list pages. Let's confirm this is cached. It is cached. Listen, this is very important too. If there's no header with this value, it's gonna return a 404 Xkey not found. And the reason it's not found is because a typo. I added an extra S. Now it works. Okay, one object purged. If I go again, miscached. Of course, it was purged. So these are the functionalities of how you can purge now with Varnish. And it's even simpler. You don't have to have my files because I already did that work for you. you can simply use my image. Let's copy this ID. You can simply use my image, which already is basically using the code that I showed you. And you can start using it out of the box in the way I showed you, and you will get basically the same behavior. Cached, cached, cached. Let's purge everything that has GraphQL query. So I go here, GraphQL query, purge, 2 objects purged because both of them has GraphQL query. Well, that's everything I wanted to show you, and thanks for watching.